Greetings, friends. Happy full moon. This is Elizabeth Schermer with an intuitive reading for this year's Gemini full moon, which occurs at 7:47 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday, December 3rd. Whew. We are in, the intensity this year just doesn't stop, does it? We're in a powerful cycle of growth. This whole lifetime, for each of us, this incarnation and this time of our collective is a process of evolutionary growth and expansion, and along with any process of growth and expansion come growing pains. What's really important right now is for us to learn to discern the leading edge of growth and to do our own use our own tools and develop our own tools and develop our own practices so that we can, as much as possible, stay in alignment and navigate the natural times of instability that each of us experiences, and the natural disruptions and the natural cycles of unexpected events. And so it's necessary for us to develop tools of equilibrium, tools of inner guidance, and also a network of support, because we have to be able to help each other and do this life together, take this path together. So I've spent some time actually on this full moon message. It's super clear. However, there's so much I want to synthesize for you. So I actually wrote some notes today, and I'm going to do my best to bring forward the breadth of this teaching in a concise and coherent way so that you can find your own anchor points for moving forward. The spread is phenomenal. The cards that are up here now, it looks like they're angled a little bit. The cards that are up here now are actually, let me turn this over till we get to it. The two cards that are here are the cards for the full moon. On the left is Gemini, and Gemini is the card for the moon is in Gemini, and this is the archetype for coming into relationship. In Tarot, it's called the Lover's card. And the Lover's card is all about the eagerness of relationship and curiosity about coming into all forms of relationships. Gemini is willing and eager to explore contrast and discover by learning about polarity and by learning about the light and dark of things. And so the symbol of the swords in forming the cathedral of the lovers signifies this marriage of opposites, and the desire to form relationship with ourselves and with others by understanding contrast and polarity in order to grow and learn. So this Gemini moon, the short story is this Gemini moon is giving each of us an opportunity to learn more about contrast. Now, contrast is the theme right now of planet Earth. We're growing fast. And so what you can look forward to in the next 2 weeks is to show up for new understandings and new ways to learn about the nature of reality and see underneath the surface of things, to connect on a deeper level with what's true to you, and to discern what in your life resonates, what in your world resonates, and what in your world and in your life is part of the past. And this could be super personal. It can also be in relationship to the culture at large and big decisions you need to make moving forward in your life. So who, how, and with whom, and how will you align, and where are your truths, and what are your truths leading you to? That's the overall theme of the Gemini moon. And that's because I'm going to talk a little bit more about contrast, because it's such an important theme. I want to really address this message of contrast today. So there are two cards that we can work with for the Gemini moon, and one is the Lovers for the position of the moon, and the other is the art card signifying Sagittarius, where the sun is. And so these two opposites of the zodiac work together to create a whole. Gemini explores and discovers and learns about relationship by a quality of objectivity and clear sight and the desire to learn. And Sagittarius comes to wisdom, takes this learning of Gemini and brings it into wisdom through the alchemy of intuition and knowledge and understanding, and the heart. The emerald green here signifies a very strong activation of the heart. And so the willingness to change and transform. I call this the alchemy card, and it's a card of doing magic in your life. So there's a celebration that you can anticipate now at the full moon and in the coming 2 weeks for new understandings of what alchemy means to you. And this is the alchemy of consciousness and the alchemy of what it means to do magic in our lives and to change and transform the world and ourselves. So let's dive into the spread. It flew out of the deck early this morning when I pulled it, and I've been meditating on it today. And so what I'd like to start with is the central card, the Hanged Man, because the signature of this full moon requires a form of surrender. And that's because the quality of what's being activated by the polarity of the moon is in direct relationship. The sun and moon are in a squared relationship with Neptune, which is actually the planet that's associated with this card, the Hanged Man, and it signifies a willingness to surrender our preconceptions about who we are and about how the world works in order to expand more fully into something greater. So on the highest level, the Hanged Man represents evolution of consciousness. It's associated with the element of water, which means being surrounded by water. It also can be uncomfortable because it's not concrete, is it? It requires us to live in our heart, be willing to release, be willing to be held, and be willing to live in uncertainty and the unknown as new forms are being created. There's something more here. I'm just being told intuitively that there's another piece to this. We'll come back to it. I'm not accessing it right now. Take a breath. Feel. I'm hearing the word feel. What's important now when you face all forms of contrast and challenge and uncertainty and difficulty, and the contrast can also be expansions of pleasure and abundance and well-being. When you face all aspects of contrast, hold space for the feeling nature of it and be willing to be vulnerable and surrender to whatever comes up for you, because the Hanged Man is signifying the willing to release attachment to how things have been so that you can see something new. Oh, that's the other word, perspective. That's the other word I'm hearing. So when we're turned upside down, we see things from a new perspective. And so that also is super important for this moon, because it's a quality of willingness to look at new ideas and new possibilities and new realities, to look beneath the surface of things. And so that brings us to the Eight of Swords. And I think it fell on the floor here just a sec, because I like to have an image for you to look at. Yeah. So the Eight of Swords is called interference, and it means that it's an interference of the mind that is resulting from overanalysis, attention to too much detail, and so you lose the big picture because you're focusing too much on all the details, losing the forest for the trees. Well, in this case, this happens to be the card for Jupiter in Gemini, and so Jupiter holds a very significant role in the astrology chart for the full moon, and so there's a value right now in your life in observing the details. So this card has a really interesting and special message for us today. There's a value in observing the details, and what's important here is that feeling message. What Jupiter gives us is the opportunity to understand systems and the way information and knowledge is organized, and that's all of these beautiful swords. And so there's a way, the influence of Jupiter in the chart right now, and what the information is pointing to right now in the Eight of Swords is bringing forward what you have learned. So pay attention as you're observing your circumstances in the coming 2 weeks, pay attention to your own experiences of learning and how you can bring forward what you've learned and your tools and your practices and your processes and now apply them in your life. So there may be a tendency to overanalyze, and so you can monitor that, and we'll talk about that again in a minute. For right now, just know that there's a quality of curiosity here and an appreciation for systems and organization and complexity, all the detail here that you can use to your advantage right now. And then the final card in the reading is the Two of Cups love, and it actually came up reversed, and I'm going to talk about it as a reversal because this reversal is significant. The Two of Cups in the position of Spirit this is a card of bliss. It's the experience of emotional harmony and fulfillment. It's a card of relationship, going back to the Lovers, and it's the card of a deep experience, emotional experience of the natural order and harmony of things. So that can happen in practical ways and also in a huge, big picture, transcendent experience. When this card is reversed right now in the context of the spread and in the context of the full moon in the position of Spirit, it's signifying that there are times in the coming 2 weeks, and already, I'm sure for all of us, for me, there is this right now, there are circumstances and situations in our life where we're not experiencing love, where we're experiencing rather than connection, where we're experiencing disharmony, or we're experiencing disappointment, or we're experiencing grief or fear or heartache. The important reminder here is to ask for help. One of the most interesting conversations we had in Mystery School circles this week was the realization that many of us are having, that at key moments we forget to ask for help. We are very good at committing to using our tools and committing to showing up, and the desire to be self-reliant and figure all of this out, and we forget in every moment that infinite help is available. So this Two of Cups love is paired with that Hanged Man, meaning that in order to be fully vulnerable and surrender to the past so you can have new perspectives and so you can evolve and so you can release the way things have been, it's important to remember to ask for help. You are not alone. So I'm going to turn over this reversal. We're never alone. Whenever we feel alone, it's a signal that we need to ask for help. And then there's a final card. This is absolutely spectacular. It was a wow moment for me after I pulled this beautiful spread when I pulled the fourth card, because we have here the card for inner truth. The adjustment card is the card that launched our fall. We came out of the eclipses in August with new understandings of shadow and light and a new commitment to inner truth. And then we stepped into the fall with the adjustment card, which represents Libra and represents our willingness now to come into full relationship with the world through the sword of inner truth. So this is coming full circle now with the Eight of Swords. The sword of inner truth is the sword of illumination and the sword of inspiration and the sword of alignment with the inner yes. And that's the swords, those are the swords that are creating the cathedral in the Lover's card. There's a way in which each of us now is being held in such a powerful way to each have our own experience, to each receive the perfect lessons and the perfect learning and the perfect opportunities to strengthen our own muscle for aligning with our truth. And it's through this negotiation of the equilibrium with inner truth that we come into full relationship with the world around us. And so this painting is not static at all. It appears very static and geometric. What's actually happening is the priestess is balancing on that point of the sword. Her toes are above the point of the sword, and so she is in exact perfect equilibrium, which requires, like riding a bike, learning to ride a bike, you have to develop your equilibrium. As we are all mastering this ability, we very often just fall flat on our face, right? That's part of what this life is about. We all have permission to fail. It's part of growing and learning and spreading our wings. So the final card in the message today is of encouragement to use your tools to go back to this desire for equilibrium, knowing that there are times when we have to be out of equilibrium in order to learn what's new. And so that's the message of the Hanged Man, is there's times when we just feel like completely confused. And that's because we're in a brand new place where we haven't been before. And the opportunity is to surrender and then receive that coiled snake of Kundalini in the root, in what would be the root but is now the crown, is signifying access to new, deeply hidden mastery and strength and intuition that will carry you forward and that will connect you to the mastery and strength and intuition that you hold within. So it's a process. We're in it. There's the astrology chart for this coming 2 weeks, shows the very real activation of strong contrast, both personally and planetarily. And what I want to say is, with the activation of the contrast there, the chart has an equal activation of harmony and beauty and the potential to see new possibilities and new perspectives and to transcend the past in order to build new realities and new manifestations and new, larger possibilities. So the splitting of the worlds, the splitting of perspectives, the splitting of realities continues. This is part of the natural process of growth. And all around us, we see people being really brave and showing up for painful circumstances, being showing up to speak their truth and to admit errors and to admit mistakes and to and the reality of accepting consequences for errors in the past. All of us are in that position. And so the more we can hold space for each other, hold compassion. Compassion is a huge quality of this card. Hold compassion for and empathy for our own learning, for our own vulnerability, and for the vulnerability of others. And remember that we're all on a path. This doesn't mean to release people from responsibility. Compassion and empathy mean holding space while someone experiences their life and their lessons, and offering encouragement, not rescuing, offering support and encouragement. So we're doing this for ourselves and we're doing it for each other. This is a longer message than usual, and I, for myself, it's important to bring this forward, and I hope that you found value in this and that you find value in stepping into this coming 2 weeks, the second half of a really powerful lunar cycle. So remember that there's value in contrast. Here's the notes I wrote to cap this up. I knew this would be long. There's value in contrast. Contrast is meant to be explored. Contrast is a contrast and challenge and difficulty and resistance, all of the things we don't like or things that feel maybe uncomfortable, are opportunities to learn something new and to see something you haven't seen before. So commit to seeing beneath the surface of things, because you will have new abilities, and that leads to the quality of objectivity, the ability now that we are developing to increase our intuition so we can be in something challenging in a personal way and also transcend it and see from a higher perspective a new point of view. Many of us are having the experience of being super calm in the face of huge adversity, and that's a quality of these new gifts of objectivity that we're receiving, so that we can step more into big picture. And then remember that it's all a process and that we are helping each other, that the important thing is to hold empathy and compassion as we all grow, and to know that we are doing this together, and that positive change is possible, and that positive change comes through us showing up. So have a fantastic full moon celebration on Sunday night, and welcome the new light, welcome the illumination, welcome the new understandings. And in this second half of the cycle, remember that those new understandings and new insights and new learning are best integrated when you share them with others. So have a great rest of your month, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. This is Elizabeth Schermer with our Gemini full moon message for the Alchemy Mystery School.